And we're live. Okay, might as well try this again. Just hammered down a bowl of ice cream and I'm feeling great. Okay, so I would love to just start going on about science and other things, but I feel like I might as well wait until we have an audience so that we can have some constructive going back and forth, because it's hard for people to keep up with what's going on live when at the same time they're trying to follow up on what happened in the past, especially when there's few people in here, and I'd like to make it interesting for the 3 or 4 people that may show up. I've tried this before and I've only got no viewers, so we'll see how long this takes. But at the same time, I don't think anything's gonna happen. I can go and try and just invite like people that I talk to and like text streams and stuff, but I'm not here for the views. I'm a pro-Trump for like valid reasons. Everything that you can say that's bad against him, yeah, I agree. You can say bad things against him, but if you're going to be pretentious and you're going to presume to assert that things that aren't bad about him are bad and just go on about that, I mean, you can really just go fuck yourself, because his flaws are his flaws, and everything that's not his flaws, you can just acknowledge aren't his flaws, and they're just you being a turd eater. Stop eating your own shit. I mean, you don't have to eat your own poop. If it tastes bad, just don't put it in your mouth. So, anyways, let's see what the top hits French playlist songs are for 2020. And in the meantime, first thing, I like creating stuff. I'm an artist. I've been drawing since I was 2 years old. I started drawing with ink on toilet paper when I was 2, and I haven't stopped drawing with ink since. Ink is pretty sweet. These pens, though, whatever they are, it's a Bic Atlantis Exact. This thing hasn't worked since I pulled it out of the case. It came with 3 of them, 3 useless pens. What a waste of my money. It wasn't my money, so it was fortunate it was given to me, because if it wasn't, I would be really, really angry. Considering Bic, I thought, was like the best pen that you can buy. Like this pen, it's a Bic, it's an Atlantis, it's great. It works like perfect. I don't even know how old this thing is, and it still looks like it's got ink right down to the end of it. I use that thing a lot. Anyways, so something that's kind of funny is I don't know how many people are like cognitively and functionally aware. Vibrations do nerve, circulation, and tissue damage. Like, those are some pretty significant varieties of damage to your body. Like it's worse than radiation damage. What's more likely to kill you than radiation? Basic, simple vibrations. Like, that's pretty out there. And yet most people don't know that. It's the leading cause of uterine prolapse. Nerve damage, circulation damage, and tissue damage are the 3 leading causes of uterine prolapse. And yet, here we go. We got vibrations. They're just fucking everywhere. And who's actually cognitively aware of that? Because you can destroy your hands from vibrations. Okay, so it's something that's kind of ironic. I slept in a little bit today with COVID, and I went uptown yesterday, and there's not a whole lot to do. And I'm unemployed because I got a DUI, and I lost my AZ license, and I'm completely boned out of employment. But I was sleeping just on my back with my arm resting on my side, right? And I get this fat, terrible SMR that felt like in my dream someone was sticking me with a taser in my side underneath my arm. And I have lucid, vivid dreams every day, several times a day. I'll have lucid dreams and I'll wake up from 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then I get out of bed, or I'm at least awake. And I have lucid dreams nonstop. So I'm very consciously aware in my sleep as to when I'm actually like suffering from something in the real world. And it's like my arms laying on my sides are tasers just killing me. And so that's something I have to put up with on a fairly regular basis. It implicates the positions in which I sleep. But the point is that it felt today was one of these days, because it happens like, I don't know, biannually, really. Less than biannually, if you really saw. Yeah, it's less than biannual in the last 13 years of my life. But it's a pretty significant moment in your life when your arms in your sleep taser you. So, you know, it's just vibration damage is pretty significant. I'm trying to think of what happened in my dream because I remember my dreams. I log my dreams in a journal. I have actually several journals because I have all different kinds of notes from world building and philosophy statements and inventions and just things that I want to remember and things that I do and things that I'm learning and things that I'm writing on the side to remind myself of stuff. But so I'm logging my dreams, and I can't remember what was happening when I got tasered. I didn't give a shit when I woke up. I was just glad to be awake. And when you start yourself from a dream, you forget your dream almost instantly. You kind of have to like get to the end of your dream and wake up, from my personal experience, before you remember what the fuck is going on. And the end of your dream can be like this big startling moment. It's like super profound, and it feels like, oh man, I should remember this. That doesn't mean that you were woken by your dream. That can just be where the dream ends. Then you wake up. Yeah, I love dreams. Honestly, I have like 8 lucid dreams per day, and I have for the last 2 decades of my life. It's fucked. You should see my log. I'm not going to show it to you, and I don't know what I look like or if you can even see me when I change the channel here. But I'm just wondering what songs can come up on this top French songs playlist. Anyways, so those of you who don't know me, it's kind of sad that you don't, because I'm like one of the #1 trolls. It's hard to believe because I get no views, but people who cut grass with non-renewable resources are blasphemers. Testosterone causes menopause. Trump is anti-lobbyist. I prove creation is a scientific fact. Human beings are immortal. I mean, if you haven't seen me in like any prevalent live streams, you don't really go on prevalent live streams, and that's just you're enjoying your little butt lickers corner of the internet. No offense to you, but like it's really hard to find popular places in the internet. So if you're on the internet and you think that you're popular, you're really just in someone else's butt licking corner, just jiving on their ass crack. Oh, okay. So no one's gonna really like this. I don't know. Lots of people watching might really like this. Tim Cass is a fucking fag. You ever actually like just listen to what he has to say? He's so pro-capitalist. I'm pretty sure he just wants the capitalist money. I've actually said, you're just after the capitalist money because they're gonna give you money, and they blocked me for like 6 months. For 6 months, I couldn't type anything in a Tim Cass stream because I had said that they were trying to get money out of capitalists. It's kind of funny. TYT, I give them likes every single time I go on their stream lately. They're completely left. They're completely fag. But they let me post anything I want that's anti-LGBT. I am so anti-LGBT on their little corner of the internet there that it's actually phenomenal that they let me get away with anything and everything I want. But I don't know. I'm really interested in kind of just going on with the bourgeois right now. In the meantime, in my personal life, I would love, as someone who grew up playing video games a lot, because I had school 5 days a week. One day in my weekend, I had to go to church fairly regularly, which was like the most annoying, worst thing in the world, because I go there to listen to a bunch of stupid people do nothing while a bunch of people who cut grass with non-renewable resources sit in the house and do nothing, and everyone's just a bunch of fucking faggots. Wow, I'm having a really hard time grasping what my computer's doing to my nose right now. It looks like someone is twisting it. What if I twist it the other way? Does that fix it? Yes, it does. Perfect. I should have done that sooner. It's weird because it actually almost looks like it does. I also have a funny little shape to my nose. I feel really disappointed about that. But look at my nose. Congratulations. Now you know what my profile looks like. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, I'd love to go on about the bourgeois and everything. But in my personal life, I love the idea of world building. Because what we have now, we don't have 4 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, if someone's computer has 4 gigabytes of RAM, they're not planning on playing video games on it. You're going to have at least 6. I mean, you're going to have at least 8. at least gigabytes of RAM if you're planning on playing video games. You might have 16, you might even have 32 gigabytes of RAM. And if you have 32 gigabytes of RAM, you guaranteed, if you're planning on playing video games, probably have a graphics card too. But you're probably going to have a graphics card if you got 8 gigabytes RAM or 16 gigabytes RAM. And so what that actually means is that you have dedicated RAM for processing what's going on in the game, and your other like 16% is for like basic proponents of the game, which you don't even really need. So it's, if you can make a game so much better than anything that's out there, the question is, why isn't there? And the reason why there isn't anything better out there right now is actually very simple. It's capitalism. They patent the idea. Someone, an investor in an investment group, are planning on stealing a bunch of your money, and they say right from the start, we want like 40% of your money in order for you just to use our graphics system. It's like there's no actual respect for the people with the ideas. So the people with the ideas don't give their ideas. And when they're hired to make a game, they do the basic least amount of work necessary. They do what's required of them, what's requested of them, what's put before them. And they don't go above and beyond to make the game better for you. And so I can sit here and I can easily propose and develop how any amount of game can be 100%, like 10. I would even go as far as saying 10,000%, but at least 1,000% superior to what's available to you on the market today. And the code prerequisite, like the programmer prerequisite for accomplishing that, is like minimal. There's like, it's not even a prerequisite. It would have actually been easier to make it better from the start than what they went with in the end and sold to you as like a beta with good graphics. And if the graphics aren't even like, who gives a shit? The replayability just isn't there. Because with the graphics, it means that there's less world. And with less world, that means there's less exploring. And with more graphics and with less world, it means that your objects are more rudimentary. So the combat isn't like something that you get good at. Whereas it's not like you're learning to fist fight a guy and you're going to get real good at doing what you're doing because he only has 5 maneuvers because he's got so many graphics. Loading it onto the ROM so they can process on the RAM, and so you can actually orchestrate with it because it's got like 5,000 objects shifting and shifting and shifting every single time it turns that your RAM has to keep up with. It's just, yeah. So I spent a lot of time world building, and I get right into the plot and what makes it worth it for like achievements for the player going up, and what makes it worth it for the people who aren't getting the achievements, so that the people who just come in are having just as much fun as the people who have been there for years. And yet there's no weird social obligation to keep playing in order to get good or to enjoy the game, because if you have to keep playing a game to get good, I mean, like, what happens if you spend a summer out at camp swimming and everything, you come back and you're no longer part of the community just because it's like the game is fucking retarded? Well, who gives a shit about those kind of camps? And yet, at the same time, they came out with multiplayer, and they're still selling single-player games because the producers are so fucking stupid. They don't respect the people with the ideas. And the coders, generally, from my experience, I might presume, don't have the same mentality and brain chemistry to perhaps produce what's necessary. Whereas the people that, from my personal experience, I would suggest the people that have the brain capacity to produce those experiences don't have the aptitudes to learn the code. I mean, Hello World for me is like the worst thing in the world. Who would ever learn anything from Hello World? Why don't you just give me an index of all your different code, label what it does, and give a brief, like 3-line example of how to use it, and that's perfectly fine. But no, they don't do that because coding is worth money to people. And so that's what's wrong with the video game world. It's all patented. They're not going to give you something that's smart and something that's logical and something that's easy to learn from, because they're not making money off you. To you, you're just an opportunity to make money. They don't care about the product that the kids have. They don't care about the social status quo that the kids have, which is terrible, because if the kids have a good status quo, then they come into the workplace with a good work ethic and a good objective, and they have something to rise above instead of meeting basic standards, which are lower than our previous standards, because our previous standards were built on people who had aspirations and dreams, and that's all dead. That's gone because people are making $35 an hour, basically just scratching their ass crack. So it's But anyways, so that's just things that I like talking about in my meantime. But I don't want to give you guys my ideas, which is really, really sad because it's really, really funny to think a decade from now, 2 decades from now, things that I came up with a decade ago are still going to be cutting edge technology, and all you losers are just consuming the capitalist like chaff that they put in the trough like you're a fucking cow. And you can just munch on dry, husky hay and no one gives a crap about you. Well, you can rise above. Anyone can rise above. And I want to produce those things. But I mean, look, I still got no views. I've never had any views. And I tell people, stop cutting grass with non-renewable resources. I tell that to the city. I say that in public. I say that everywhere I work. I say that to everyone I meet. I send letters to the government. I send letters all over the internet. I send letters to the native reserves. No one gives a shit. No one gives a crap about anything. We're polluting all of our water tables by dumping our shit in sewage tanks out in the yard. The sewage tank goes out into the water and it pollutes the water. And then so all over the country, we own like 80, 60, 40, 100 acre lots of land. And we all got our private sewage tanks and we just ruined the whole water table with feces. No one gives a shit. The city was dumping sewage in the Great Lakes for a long time. No one gives a shit. In big cities, they just dump in the river. No one gives a shit. No one swims in big city rivers because that's where your feces goes. No one gives a shit. Goes out in the ocean. No one gives a shit. Who cares about your feces? It's just color has killed more people than wars has. It's Ebola from bathing in the water hole and defecating the streets with no toilet paper. It's polio from getting yourself just covered in the residue of feces in your environment from defecating in the streets and it ending up in your mouth. No one gives a shit. No one cares about like poop. Really? No way. It goes down the drain. It's gone. It's not my problem anymore. And it's like, well, yes, it is not just your problem because you're immortal in the flesh and you can thrive and you can survive and you can succeed. And if your environment is a shithole, you can't, you'll die instead because you're an asshole surviving around assholes. It's destroying everything. And it's such a lame standard. And I, as you probably discovered like 30 seconds ago, forgot what I'm talking about. And it's not because I'm drunk. I just kind of like went, wow. And now I'm gone. But yeah, I spend my time discriminating against people for stupid stuff. And I don't have any viewers. There's just nothing there for me. And like I've been doing it for a decade. So, you know, fuck it, right? You can all go and be lazy and die because your ideology sucks so much you don't want to live. But you know, if you did want to live, it doesn't matter how brutal and pathetic the world is. Isn't that the biggest joke? Their ideology sucks so much that they're all fucking faggots and dying. Losers. So, I mean, but we can most definitely set a higher standard for ourselves in what we cognate and what we intend to produce and what we want to produce. I mean, one thing that I want to produce is I want to produce docks that you just take lumber. You'd probably treat that lumber, and yeah, treating lumber requires adhesives and different things that are produced from being forged from lumber. You take the acids out of the wood by boiling them, and you treat them through different processes, all of it requiring fire in order to make it do, because you need to adjust the temperature in order to make it a very viscous material. But you create treated lumber, and you dry it off, and you don't dry it off in the sun. You dry it off by forging it. You create your treated lumber, and you make a dock that has dirt on it. And underneath it, you put a shelf with dirt on it. And then you plant seaweed in it. And you put that dock in the water, and it floats underneath the water. And if that sounds a little bit complicated, it's easy. You just put an air bubble underneath the wood because the treated lumber will keep the wood. And you can make it so that goes down a little bit. You don't need to have as much air as the pocket. Just enough to allow it to float off the ground because the water gets denser and denser and denser as you get to the bottom. It's not. Water is really weird like that because the entire surface of the water is pressing down on the next layer, and then on the next layer, and then on the next layer. And so when it goes down to a certain amount, that's this much water pressure. It's not a square of water pressure above it. It's the entire surface of the lake above it, saying every single molecule is saying, I want to be lower than here because I'm heavy and the air thinks that I'm heavy. So like, give it to me. I'm heavy, bitch. I'm water. And the air is like, yeah, you're heavy. You go down. You go down. And it's poking on all of them. And all the water molecules are equally pressing down. And so that's your water pressure. And so, anyways, it's not entirely like that either. It's not the entire surface of the lake. I'm getting way out of loop here. But I want to produce docks that you can stand out in the lake, and you can be in knee-deep water, you can be in ankle-deep water, you can be in like 2 feet deep water or 5 feet deep water when you're standing on the dock that's floating off the ground. And it produces food for the fish. How cool would that be? Because you can just take your dock, you take it out into the lake, and then you chain it on bricks or something to the floor. And then it's growing food for the fish. So there are always fish there. So you can just be out there in the lake in waist deep water and fish. What if that was a social status quo for society? At every public lake you went, there was a dock out in 10 feet deep water so that you can stand on it. And there was fish around all year long. Well, what the fuck do we do? Anyways, I mean, just a little bit of raised standards. See, this is why I hate talking. Not only me, I mean, like, most people talking. It's like, what are you talking about? That is actually going to produce anything productive. But, like, people talk and talk and talk. We're like ants. We talk super, super slow, and we don't learn anything in the end of it. And if we all just talk like ants, then it makes communicating on the internet when you're trying to say something special, especially when you're waiting for an audience, incredibly awkward. And so I'm just going to sign off. So, fuck y'all. Peace. Happy birthday, me.